Alright guys, this is Dylan at Checkmate Vanguard here. We are here to do more profiles today. You guys have been asking for a Nightrose deck profile. So here we go. We got our friend Liam here. He's playing this pretty often here at locals and getting plenty of wins with it. So we're just going to kind of go over it and just some of the basics and just kind of what you need for staples for this list. So here we go.
All right, so as you can see, Nightrose.
So let's start with the grade 3s, or you can start with the starter. The starter doesn't change.
I'm going to do the starter. I just do a normal V starter. I do Grenache because he looks cool, but you can do any normal V starter you want. I haven't seen really any other starter that warrants running over just the normal V, just because that +1 with just drawing is just really useful.
Alright, and then
So then grade 3s, yeah, the Heart and Soul of the deck, Vampire Princess of Nightfog, Nightrose. She's just your main Vanguard, just allowing you to give 5k extra to every single rear guard that is attacking or boosting is really strong. And she's clearing the board as she goes to make sure her second skill set up in order to call it up. Basically a free new board with the whole calling out a Night Drag or a Skull Dragon and Beatrice behind it, or to call out another one.
It's very good.
She's just a very good card.
There's nothing more. It's a very good card.
She's insanely strong. I play 2 Beatrice. I play 2 just in case one gets damage checked, is really it. That, or if I have one on field and I have one, if I already have one Beatrice on field.
But realistically, as long as you have 2 in rotation, you're always good.
2 is just a very safe thing to do, essentially, with Beatrice. And she's very pivotal to a lot of your plays of resetting your board and doing a lot of your Denial Griffin stuff and resource management.
Skull Dragons.
4 Skull Dragons because Megiddo is a card, and so you would like to swarm with Skull Dragons.
Pitch fodder.
Yeah, pitch fodder. Literally, if you draw it, you don't really care because you just stride with it. Aside from that, he's just a giant beat stick that just helps you win the game.
Later the game better he becomes.
Yeah. The one of for the grade 3 lineup is Night Rogue, Nightstorm. He's just able to help you get more attacks as you're going along with your plays.
Good to know that Nightrose gives him 5 so you can hit Van.
So that 5k is very important. And as for other grade 3s that you might want to think of running when you're building this list, I do kind of highly recommend cutting Nightrose down to 3 and running a Night Mist.
A Negra Bolt.
A Night Mist and a Negra
Bolt.
Yeah, Negra Bolt as well. Night Mist mainly just this way when you get to your bad bounty turns, you're able to just keep the pressure going with the Lord Night Mist, not the new one that came out of the clan collection.
It's the limit break one that has the crossfight skill. When it's right upon, you can call 2 cards to your circles and they get 5.
It's super useful because it lets you attack before you attack with bad bounty, so you're getting 2 more attacks overall with it. And then of course, Neverbolt if you want to play around or if you want some sort of out to the Mega Colony matchup, because that is the one matchup you're going to hard lose. As for grade 2s, 4 Columbard, 4 Greed Shade. Don't
have to make anything special. These cards are the heart.
They are literally just everything you need. Columbard just Foolish Burials anything from your drop and then just calls it out. Calls anything you want from drop out. Greed Shade just lets you discard a card, mill 2, add 1 back to hand. It's just very easy resource manipulation with the drop.
Pivotal.
And just getting you everything you need. And you can realistically run less than 4 in each thing, but running it less than 4, you will notice a difference.
Depends on your comfort level.
Yeah. And then that's it for the just 4 of grade 2s. After that is just 1 ofs with Jesse the Ghosty, Skeleton Cannoneer, and Stormride Ghost Ship. Jesse, just because he's an on-attack countercharger, gets 5k and all that. Skeleton Cannoneer for the Denial Griffin play that we all are used to.
To get rid of outs, just bad cards on the board.
He just helps you get rid of anything on your opponent's turn with the whole Beatrice Skeleton Cannoneer play. And then the Stormride Ghost Ship, he's a 24k base attacker that can be called from drop and draws you a card when you're at the end of it. So he's very useful. I call him out a lot during the mid game just because drawing that card is very useful to keep me alive.
It's bigger than what the dragon would become and you're drawing a card.
As for grade 1s, I run 4 Sea Strolling Banshee. She's
not everyone's on this, but this is a good card to play.
She is, for me, I love her just because she is the one Vanguard I want to ride every single game because...
The ideal grade 1 ride.
Yes, because she just search your deck for any card and puts it into drop. So you can search anything you might need. This helps you with your Columbard and Greed Shade plays because maybe you're missing a Nightrose in hand. So you can just dump the Nightrose off Sea Strolling. And then if you have
well, if you just ride Columbard, you send Great Shade, and then you call Great Shade. Great Shade.
You call
get your
Great Shade,
Nightrose
yeah.
back.
It helps you cut down on the amount of cards you need in order to get stuff back to your hand, stuff like that. And hey, she can even dump out garnets that you might not want in there. They might not want in your deck. They just want to drop for future turns.
The on-boost mill skill's good too.
Yeah,
Just
and
'cause
the
it gets
boost
a
being
great
able
boom.
to mill 2 cards if you mill a trigger, she retires herself, draws a card. Really good in early game. She's just all around a really good card.
Good card to try out if you haven't been there.
I run 2 Negrobones. I see a lot of people running 3. I've thought about it, but with just the amount of tech options that I'm running in this list, Negrobone at 2 is just kind of where I have to sit. Just being able to, at will, just discard a card from your hand and choose a grade 1 if you have less than 10 cards, any grade if you have more than 10 cards, and call it out is just insanely useful for a lot of your plays.
And you're going to be milling a lot.
Yeah,
so-
and you will be milling a lot. If you have to ride him on your grade 1, doesn't matter. He's your Soul Blast target then at that point.
You have that jackpot moment when
Yeah.
you see it in the drop zone. You have 10 more cards in there, so
It's very useful. And then there's a lot of grade 1. There's a lot more tech options to run through here. So Urgula, she's from Overdress.
gives the thing in front of it protection.
Yes, and that is insanely important for your Columbard. A lot of people will notice that Columbard is a big part of what your play is when you're attacking. So they'll try to get rid of it. Nightstorm.
Nightstorm.
Nightstorm is a big part of your play when you're trying to go through and kill them. So what a lot of people do will try to retire it. Urgula says no to that, and you're still able to essentially protect the Nightstorm and just kind of keep your plays going.
Being able to rearrange columns is decent too.
Yeah. One sleeve tugging bell. Narukami scares you, so sleeve tugging bell.
Link Joker.
And Link Joker, yeah. Especially if they went into Glue Ball Avalanche. Just anything that binds stuff from your drop, you just need a way to get that back from bind, and sleeve tugging bell. Like in those matchups, I highly recommend searching her out and getting any sort of way to get her back to hand. I would say try to do within the same turn you get her to drop, or just get her to your hand within one turn if you can, because she is a sitting target for those decks. Like a good Narukami player will try to get rid of her at all
I'll
costs.
snipe it out with Vowing.
Yeah, because they know that this card is vital to keeping you in the game.
Well, realistically, I'll snipe it out with Demolition Dragon.
Yeah, too, yeah.
Yeah.
One Ripple Banshee, she's just a good on-play Soul Blast 1, gets 4K, and you draw a card.
You can use it early game.
Yeah, use it early game, get some more draw, just help you see more pieces.
Funny card.
I play Light Elemental Hanali. The thing I've noticed quite a bit with this deck is the Skeleton Cannoneer play is not the end-all be-all for a lot of decks. There are just some decks that are like, okay, cool, anyways, I'm going to keep trying to kill you and attack 80 times in a turn. And so you have to realize what those matchups are, and you have to realize that Hanali is a lot more important of a card to call out than the Skeleton Cannoneer, because Hanali will shut their turns down a lot more than the Skeleton Cannoneer will. So Hanali, you have to be very careful with it as well, because some people might just snipe it in the middle of their combos and stuff like that. So it's also a bit of like protect the Hanali as well if it is vitally important to keeping you alive. And then of course I run the 1 Forerunner Grenache. Just being able to retire
other
itself,
countercharger.
yeah, and just countercharge 2 is insanely strong, because this deck will eat through counters like nobody's business. And Grenache being able to countercharge 2 is insanely strong. Some other cards to think of in your 1-of lineup is either the new King Serpent or the old King Serpent, because they're on place the old King Serpent is an on place Omni. And the new one is an Omni, but in a little bit more of a roundabout way.
It's power.
Yeah, it gets power as well. But King Serpent is definitely another card you could look at as well in your tech slot. As for the trigger lineup, of course the over trigger, it's just a part of the game, so you get to run it. There's no real other thing to say about it. 4 Heal Guardians. There's been some movement to run 2 Heal Guardians, 2 heals that have 20k shields. With just how powerful your heals or your G Guardians are, and some of the other triggers you're running that have higher shield count, you can get away with the 4 Heal Guardians just because of just the other triggers you'll see here in a second. As for your Sentinels, I run 1 Draw PG because you can recycle it really easily, and 3 Crit Sentinels.
Crit pressure is more important here.
Having more crit pressure, because you're going to be swinging a lot, but the issue, you're going to be swinging a lot with like big numbers, but the issue is a lot of them is going to be at 1 crit. So you want to really pressure your opponent into thinking about what they're taking and stuff like that, and you want to end the game when you can.
Get crits on Skull Dragons, get crits on
Nightrose itself,
Nightrose.
Bad Bounty, stuff like that.
Make your
just
opponent feel
having
like they
that
have to
extra
guard
crit pressure
everything.
is really important. That, and as you'll see in this G Guardian, or in the G Zone, one of your G Guardians, Negranora, just being able to call it a 30k shield at will alongside of her is just insanely powerful.
Call that, and you call the grade 3. That's
Yeah.
at least 45 in shield, plus herself is 60.
Yeah, 60 total. It's running the crit sentinel at 3 is what I think is the right move in this matchup or in this lineup, just because it's insanely useful. I'm so happy that I run it as
Keeps
that.
cards in hand later for Negrobone.
Yeah. And then I just, of course, run 4 stride crit, 3 soul crit. Just keep it simple is kind of what my mantra was in this department. One thing you will notice, you're not going to be pitching your stride crits a lot because you're going to be pitching your skull dragons and other combo pieces you might have in hand that add up to 3. So you're just going to have Chad the Ghosty kind of sitting in your hand, hanging out a lot of the time. So feel free to block with it. I mean, he's 15k, why not?
If you can also try to play the older trial deck one, the Rough Seas Banshee that
Yeah,
just
that
tucks
too.
yourself in, draw a card.
The world is your oyster a lot with this deck. It's just kind of like, how do you want to build your deck and tech it to?
You can get as wild as you can with the grade 1s and the tech cards.
It's just for mine, I have mine built to be because kind of extremely safe, straightforward, and do what I want to do each game.
Simpler to pilot.
Yeah. For Stride, I run 2 Big Obadiah, 1 regular Obadiah. One thing that I've noticed while going through, don't flip up normal Obadiah off of Big Obadiah. Flip up like the other Big Obadiah, because there are just going to be some situations where your opponent like counter starves you and stuff like that, and a lot of your strides need a counter in order to go off. So just going into a normal Obadiah and milling 3, who cares? You're milling 3, you're thinning your deck, and you're getting more pieces into your drop. You're not going
to drop.
Yeah. You're not going to be doing a lot with it, yes, but like, who cares? You got counter starved, you're at least doing something on your turn. And Big Obadiah just being able to counterblast 1, send 5, call 2 for each G zone. Yeah, just being able to set up your drop that much is insanely strong. And if you go first, and you can afford to do it, I highly recommend G-guarding if you went first when your opponent goes on their stride turn, just because you can call 4 off of Big Obadiah, and it's really nice just being able to get that many attacks in, kind of bleed cards from your opponent's hand, and just kind of have that pressure, because every unit you call off of Big Obadiah also gets 5k in zone a turn. So they're most likely going to be hitting. As for next, 2 Bad Bounty.
Sometimes you need to.
Sometimes you need to, yeah. Like, if you can't go into like Megiddo or Bartholomew, the second Bad Bounty is not going to be bad.
But you don't need 3.
Yeah, you don't need 3, not at all. If you went into it 3 times, you're probably going to deck out. Bad Bounty is being able to counterblast 1, discard 3, re-ride something from drop, so you re-ride the Nightrose. Just keeping your plays going. Bad Bounty is a kill turn, and this is why I highly recommend running Night Mist, is because Bad Bounty can make you ride Nightrose over Night Mist, and you're just getting 2 more attacks during this turn. They're going to be higher power. Like, even Nightrose is going to get 10k off of the Night Mist. It's going to be insanely nice.
Usually 4 Skull Dragons usually is enough to kill your opponent, but 6 is probably
Six is almost a guarantee.
Probably will do it. It'll work through all the battle tricks by then too. So
I do run 2 Twilight Nightrose, literally just because
she gets crit.
She gets crit, yeah. It's like, if I'm too scared to go into like Bad Bounty and overcommit with like Bad Bounty and stuff like that, she's just kind of like she's a safe option of like, I want to go for it and I want to do something, but I don't want to like overdo it.
You don't need to mill with
Obadiah
either,
so she's just kind of there to be like, okay, cool, you don't want to do anything too drastic, let's just do this for this turn. That's really about why she's here. You're not going to be going into her every game, but the games that you do go into, you're going to be happy because she's another option to go into.
Then the infamous
Bartholomew. As you notice, this is not a Bartholomew Turbo deck, but we can still use it because
it's fair blue / control blue.
Yeah.
So.
And so, which, yes, that is true. This is a more kind of control style deck. You're going to be dragging the game on for a little bit long.
It's easier to pilot, easier to control.
And Bartholomew is just kind of, I see it as the card you go into if you can't afford to go into Megiddo, or you think you can kill your opponent a lot easier with it. Like, if you can go into Megiddo, but your opponent has 3 cards in hand and they're like 4 damage, go into Bartholomew. It's a guaranteed kill at that point, because you never know what they might have for Megiddo.
Worst case scenario, it's a Nightrose.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, and it costs 3 cards.
It costs 3. You're going to be swinging multiple times with dragons with him, especially if you have Negrobones in drop. He's insanely strong, just being able to have that guard restricts. It's really good.
You don't want to ride into.
Yeah. The one of Megiddo, I sadly think this is a mandatory card, so it is very expensive. You can realistically run 2 Bartholomew in place of the 1 Megiddo, but Megiddo just being able to counterblast 2 call all of your dragons and the one Columbard, and just getting you 5 dragon attacks in that turn is insanely strong.
This is what you want.
Yeah.
This is ideally what you want if you're playing.
It's your end goal. This is what you're working for throughout the whole game. And your opponent is not going to be living past this turn. It's almost guaranteed. But you never know what can happen with triggers and stuff like that. And I do highly keep track of your cards, like where they're moving and stuff like that, because you can
shark.
Yes,
you can really easily shark with this card.
Yes, especially if you can easily forget the Columbard in the back row and you've lost yourself on a dragon attack. So you have to be careful with how you're moving your cards around with this.
Make sure you move your cards and then declare shit that's down.
Yes. As for G Guardians, I run 2 Negra Lily. Just this way you can get access to calling stuff out from drop during your opponent's turn. So you can do the Skeleton Cannoneer play. You can do the Honolly play. You can also do the resource play where you call it a Greed Shade off of Beatrice and get the heal back from your drops. This way you can G-Guard again. Or you can call out Grenache during your opponent's turn, countercharge 2 at the end of the turn.
25k shield.
Yeah, 25k shield on top of all of that. You can guard the Greed Shade you called off as well, making it a 30k shield. Negra Lily is just very strong at getting you exactly what you want to do, whatever you want to do on your opponent's turn.
And then the next best thing, which is Negra Nora.
Negra Nora, just call 2, Soul Blast 1, flip something face up. Call 2 cards at different grades from your drop to rear circle. You can even call the Overtrigger, so she's a 65k on herself, and you just call like a grade 3 heal that you pitched. So it's...
It'll be usually...
Yeah, she's gonna be big a lot of the time.
She'll also do PGs also.
Yes, you can do PGs as well. It's another reason why we run the Stride Crit is because her with the Stride Kit is a 45k shield on its own. So if what you need, if you don't want to use like a perfect guard, but you still want to get you still need to get big shield, Negra Nora can get you there.
And then this chick from the Clan
The one
collection,
of Oriana.
She deals with things that hit really hard for high numbers, but you don't have the shield for it.
If you don't have the shield for it, just counterblast 1, reduce their crit, and move on. You don't really need more than 1 because I haven't found myself wanting to have more than 1 Oriana.
It's good to have this in your back pocket.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little bit of like an oh shit button if it comes up. 1 Negra mode just because it's easy shield.
Gets
when you need it.
Easy, so less.
Yeah, like if you need a medium high shield, Negra mode can get you there. And then this is what I would say you go into if you went first on Nightrose and you just want to get the G-Guard face up for Big Obadiah. Just Deep Corpse Dragon because he lets you mill the 2 off the top of the deck and he gets 5k shield. That's very Ipple, very simple and clean. But yeah, that's Nightrose, the Stride deck, and the main.
So we'll just close this off with saying this is not the Nightrose of past, the past formula. Just the Bartholomew Turbo. This is more in line with the fair blue game.
Yes.
This is something that you would suggest to a friend who's like, oh, I'm thinking about playing this deck for the first time. And it starts off as this oyster that you can start playing with, start understanding its plays.
What I would say is it's an easy deck to pick up, it's a hard deck to master because there's a lot of weird stuff you can do with it. And with some of the situations I found myself coming across, I've had to do weird plays, like play around like a 2-time Denial Griffin on my opponent's attacking turn. And they knew that the only way I was going to win was by calling out Connolly, so they threatened the Denial Griffin twice. It was Spike Brothers. They were running the grade 3 encounter card.
Mikani.
Yeah. He's running that, and so I had to like do some weird finagling where I had to recall like my board just so I can get Connolly pressure still out. It's one of those things where every game is going to be a puzzle and you have all the pieces for it. It's just up to you to get them all together.
The way to look at it is that you can get really extreme with your list and play a lot of 1-outs and a lot of tech cards. But this is more of the lines of having something that's very much more easier to control, have more replication of your plays that really matter. And just so that's why it's sort of like Nightrose control. This isn't turbo, okay? This is something you want to play that doesn't get the job done to the first stride, but maybe the second stride. But you still get all your pressure, all your resource game, all the same stuff.
It's a very simple, straightforward Nightrose list.
You have a lot more control of your plays.
But yeah, that's Nightrose.
Well, Liam, thank you for coming on the channel and just kind of getting this out there. There were some people asking in the comments for a Nightrose list from the past couple weeks, so here it is. He also played this in BCS, and you did...
I did horribly, but that's because I went against MFD and Ripples almost exclusively.
Format sucked. We'll just keep it at that.
I was not expecting to. I was expecting to run across it quite a bit, but not as much as I did. And I lost essentially every die roll, so I always went second. And I just was not able to get any sort of game plan going by the time they were killing me.
But this should be a lot better
Yes,
deck for this format,
this
given
format-
that Ripples and MFD are out.
Yes, now that this format is definitely a lot slower, and we're going to be each person can be taking at least one stride turn. Nightrose will be able to complete again. This is definitely a deck that if you invest in, it will not let you down because it's always going to be there.
If you put in the time and the effort to know the plays and know your matchups, this deck will reward you.
Yes.
Easy. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.